is standing on end just thinking about it. My hair is standing on end just thinking about it. My hair is standing on end just thinking about it. My hair is standing on end just thinking about it. My hair is standing on end just thinking about it.
All right, we are live once again with the world's greatest live stream show. Bringing in Brianna here in 1 second, and Tal will be joining us as well. I'm Bob Siosik, by the way. I'm founder of World's Greatest. We are a media content company featuring Olympic athletes and now Paralympic athletes as well. And this is going to be all about Paralympics, obviously. While that has just begun today, having a little technical difficulty bringing Brianna in, but we'll get her in a second. In the meantime, we're going to be on live every day for all 13 days of the Paralympics. Our times might change a little bit, so we're 5 o'clock today, and tomorrow I think we're going to be 3 o'clock Eastern time on, Saturday and Sunday. But it might shift a little bit to accommodate for the athletes who are actually in Paris. We have tons of amazing athletes who will be on the show. Everyone from, amazing discus throwers like Jeremy Campbell. We have we have Brianna popping right in.
Perfect. I'm sorry. Hi.
Your backdrop's way better than my backdrop.
I'm at the Olympic Training Center, actually, so I figured what better place to do it.
That's the perfect backdrop. One time I was doing one of these with a Norwegian snowboarder, and he was inside, but outside his window was Matterhorn, the famous mountain.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's crazy.
Is that real, or is that? He goes, no, that's Matterhorn. That's it.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So why don't you introduce? I did a little introduction to myself. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tal should be joining us as well. So if he pops in, we'll just bring him right in and
totally
start all the banter. But why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Brianna Salinaro. I am originally a Paralympian in para taekwondo, as well as a world bronze medalist. I am now a national sprinter in both the 100-meter and 200-meter. And
Amazing.
Yeah.
So just generally an overachiever. I mean, like you're like, oh, okay. I did taekwondo.
It keeps life exciting,
I'm just gonna switch it up a little bit. I mean, give me a break. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
How do you? All right, let's just start there for a second. How do you master one sport like taekwondo? Which, by the way, I had a really good friend of mine come on as kind of our taekwondo expert, although he's not a professional, but he's been doing it for like 40 years.
Sure.
And he gave us all sorts of insights. So I'm excited that you're on, like a real expert.
Yeah, totally.
But how do you do that? How do you like master one sport like that and then have a mindset where I'm like, oh, I'm shifting to this one now. Now I'm going to master this sport. How does that happen?
So I did taekwondo for 14 years. I believe about 7 of those years being like internationally competitive. And then shortly after the Tokyo Games, World Taekwondo announced that my form of cerebral palsy is no longer eligible to compete at the Paralympic level. So I really had 2 choices. I could fully retire and hang up my career, not only in Taekwondo, but just as an athlete in general, or I could try something else. And, I wasn't ready to give up the potential future and like goals I had as a Paralympian. So I, kept my eye on other sports while in Tokyo because we kind of knew that was going to happen. And I saw the success that a lot of CP athletes had in Tokyo, and I figured I'd give it a shot. And I'm now sitting at the Olympic Training Center. So, yeah.
You just packed a lot into one little
yeah, we could break it down for sure.
But we can break it down. But before we do that, because you were kind of taking us through that a little bit, I like to do this one question where, and I'm getting out my stopwatch. Now that you're in
I saw you did this with Coach Mack yesterday.
I did.
Prepared myself.
All right. So, and this is his time still sitting on. So his time was
45
44.
seconds.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I can
So
beat him.
in 60 seconds or less,
Hmm.
tell us your life story. Ready?
Okay, ready.
Go.
All right, so I was born in 1998. I was diagnosed at a year and a half with cerebral palsy. Shortly after, I had two Achilles tendon surgeries to lengthen my Achilles tendons in hopes of getting me to walk somewhat normally. The surgeries worked, years of therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, you name it, I did it, braces, the whole 9 yards. I started Taekwondo when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I started competing with able bodied athletes at the age of 13 and then internationally at the age of 16 or 17. Went to Tokyo in 2021 and retired in 2021 and moved over to track in 2023. And here I am.
42,
Oh, I
36.
beat him. Okay, awesome.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
So is Coach Mac coaching you as well?
He is, yes.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of amazing. I mean, it was so cool to talk to him, uh, and I've known him for a long time, but to talk to him kind of in detail on a lot of these topics, you know, one of the things he talked about was this. So Olympic athletes are training with Paralympic athletes at the training center. So tell us a little bit about like that dynamic,
Sure.
and who are your training partners, and how does your day look on a normal training day?
Yeah, sure. So, to run you through a typical Monday, because I feel like that's one of our heavier days, like, we start off on the track for I would say about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on what the session looks like. And then we'll grab some lunch. We'll head over to the gym for about an hour and a half, depending on what our athletic trainer has programmed for us in our universal app. Um, and then we just kind of go home and recover. Um, a lot of time on the track is spent in blocks or just kind of like form runs and trying to critique like our execution of our race. Um, and a lot of the weight, I think a lot, like, I don't want to say it's something I struggle with, but it's more of a change in the sense of like what we do in the weight room. It's very, very, very specific. Whereas I come from like general strength and conditioning. So, um, that's yeah, that's basically what our day looks like. As far as training partners, I mean, we have Noel, Noah, Beatrice. I know he mentioned some of these athletes yesterday. And then as far as working with the Olympians, we work with Harrison, Williams, Annie. I don't remember her last name, and Erica.
Any Kuntz, yeah.
Yeah, Annie Coons and Erica Bogard, and they're absolutely phenomenal. Originally, like when I only came into the program in January,
Oh, cool.
when I
Wow.
first came in, I was like semi-intimidated just because like they're just incredibly good athletes, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I get to train with them every day. Like that's, it's crazy. But it is really inspirational to have athletes of that caliber kind of like next to you in the lane every day. So,
Yeah, I mean, how much does that kind of push you, and how much are you kind of like learning off of them as well?
I would say a decent amount. I mean, some of our sessions are broken up to where it's only the para group or only the Olympic group. So when I do get to work with them, I try to take in as much as I can from them, and they're also super approachable. So if I have any questions on anything that I feel they could better answer, sometimes I'll go to them and try to seek their advice, and they're great. So
Yeah, that's super cool.
yeah.
One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, like early, like first,
Mhm.
and it worked out perfectly. I hope Tal can make the session here though, but I haven't heard from him yet. So, but I don't think a lot of people realize like you actually have to make the team. There's something called trials, and
Right.
you have to
Right.
make the team to go to the
Yep.
Paralympics. So it's
Yeah.
not like, I'm sure you have, aunts or uncles or friends,
Yeah.
or like, are you
Yeah.
going to the Paralympics? You're like,
Even
wow.
now, like even post trials of like me sharing multiple times that I haven't made it, people are like, "Where are you? Like I haven't seen you on the TV yet." I'm like, "I'm not there," you know. And it's
So,
sweet that they want to support. Like I'm nowhere near bothered by it, but like it's a little bit of a sting. So
Well, I wanted to talk to you about it because so we did this same show during the Olympics, and we
Sure.
had a number of past Olympians who didn't make the team this go round, like Clayton Murphy,
Sure.
for various reasons. Clayton Murphy, Devin Allen, Kyle Garland, all sorts. And I like doing it to show people it's not just about making the team, and it's not just about being on the medal stand, and it's not just about winning the gold medal, right? This is a
Right.
journey for you guys, right? And which is, I think, like a parable for life. It's a journey for all of us. So it's
Right.
not just the thing that you're supposed to make and be done. But I thought some of your posts that you did were very like personal and emotional, and so I wanted you to talk a little bit about that concept of all this work you put in and you didn't make the team.
Yeah. I think even now I'm still in a very much of like a reevaluation phase. Like I think through the past 6 months, I've really only had a total of a year and a half in the sport. Um, and within that year and a half, like before February of this year, I was on track to make this team without a doubt. And then our standards changed. And my standard specifically got 1.1 seconds harder. And that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but in track, that's monumental.
Yeah.
So I think that that was a big mental hindrance to me as well because I was like, oh my goodness, like I was ready to make this team and then things changed and it was hard for me to keep the mindset of I can still make this team even though I have that much more of a hurdle to overcome now. Um, but as far as like the emotion, I don't know, it's like the emotion, it's very like wave-like, like I try to have grace with myself as far as like the amount of time I've spent in the sport and like I also feel grateful now because I have 4 years ahead of me to really mold myself as a track athlete versus like 6 months of in-person training and a year, a little less than a year of remote training, right? And like kind of rushing it and like now I get to take a deep breath, like take everything that I've learned from this past season and bring it into the next 4 years and really just like create this monstrous like athlete in the best way. Um, so it's hard to not be there with my team and with everybody that I've come up with through these past 6 months. I don't even want to be there for me in a sense. I mean, that goes without being said. But a lot of it too is wanting to be there to support them and like, because we've been through every step of the way and now I don't get to take this next step with them. So it's hard to not be in the stands and watch them, but um, in a way I'm grateful, in a way I'm extremely disappointed, in a way I'm angry. Like there's so many emotions that come with it. So, you know,
I'm sure. I'm sure
yeah,
the part of what I see whenever we shoot with you guys, and I can't wait to shoot with you, by the way. So now we can
yeah,
plan it.
I'm
We can
so
actually
excited for
plan out
that.
some great content. So
Definitely.
um, yeah, my head's like yes, we have
Yeah,
so much
I
food to
already have
get
so
done.
much planned too. I mean, I have so many doctors at Hospital for Special Surgery that we could like even network with to get it done. So that's a
Amazing.
topic for another day.
That's
But
another topic.
yeah,
But I don't think people really, really realize it's like you don't just kind of wake up and show up and it's like, okay, it's the Olympics now. I'm going to start training. You know what I mean?
right,
Like
right,
this
right.
is a
A lifestyle.
it's a lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
24/7,
100%.
365.
Yep.
And unfortunately, a lot of Olympians and Paralympians, need to make money in other ways because
Yep.
there's not a ton of money in the sport, right? Not a
Right.
lot of support. Um, which is why the Olympic Training Center is so important, right? I mean,
Yes,
you
definitely.
actually need, I mean, once you're off the track, you still need, physical
Yeah, physical
therapy and
therapy, rehab, and the athletic trainers to bring us through the weight room, and just countless other services. Like you don't just get molded into a track athlete or any kind of athlete in the environment that you practice in. There's every element of what you do every day is like what molds you. So
Yeah, and the other
Yeah.
thing I do love is you talking about the other athletes that you're training with is this crossover. Like we've done a lot of work with Boogie Johnson, Captain Johnson, with the Arkansas athletes. So like Shamir Little and Jonna Woodruff and just tons of athletes. They did so well this year. It was crazy. But then obviously Hunter Woodall and
Right.
so. But it's an interesting mix of athletes that kind of come together that on one hand you kind of go Team USA, but it's kind of weird. Like me being on the inside for a little while, like
Mm.
it's not. It is Team USA. I get the concept. Like we've created a team, and there's other countries and that, and then there's the medal count and all that. But at the end of the day, when you see Amber Anning, who competes for Great Britain, and she's going over and hugging Shamir Little, and none of us fans know why. Well, it's because they train together.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you sometimes you do train with your competitors, you know. I personally am not in that situation, but I have seen it, and I think sometimes that could bring an extra level to your training that a lot of people don't get. So,
The One of the things I want to talk about a little bit is there's plenty of hurdles that all athletes encounter with who they are and what they do. Devin Allen, one of his big things over the years, getting better off the start. He's a fairly slow starter compared to like Grant, right? But he's a great finisher, and that's where he kind of
sure.
makes it up. Take us through your strengths and weaknesses, and where like you see yourself as an athlete now on the track.
On the track, I think my start is actually one of my better parts of my race. Originally, when Coach Mack and I were training remotely, I only had about a 40-meter gym that I was able to practice on,
Wow.
or in, I should say. I mean, I did have the track, but training in New York, like when it would get to winter time and fall time, it'd be too cold to be out on the track. So I practiced my start like relentlessly, and I think that paid off uh, to where we are now. But I think one of my major weaknesses is, and he touched on this yesterday, is neural fatigue. Like there will come a point at the 60, 70 meter where my body just like starts to shut down. And the more I fight it, the tighter I get. So it's hard because you feel your body shutting down and you go, no, 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 not now, not now. Just like hold on, right? And you're fighting to hold on, but the harder you fight to hold on, the tighter you get, so the slower you get. Whereas like if you stay relaxed and don't give in to that shutdown, you could finish a lot more efficiently. Um, and that's something I struggle with a lot in the 200 is like I'll have a beautiful like 120 and then that last like 80 meters you just see my body like I feel like it's like the Tin Man or like the you turn to stone kind of and you some races you can really see my body just kind of like freeze. So that's a lot that's like a big thing we've been working on. But
And then I I understand that too. Like John Anderson loves to, he's the ESPN Sports Center guy, but he does a lot of track and field announcing, and he's always
mm,
like he loves to use the phrase "they're tying up down the stretch."
yeah, exactly.
But for
Yeah.
for you with CP, so does that kind of um, show differently? Like as fans looking at you and how you're battling kind of that tying up, does
Yeah.
how does that look and feel to you?
Um, I think it's just a lot more obvious. Whereas, like, for me, watching able-bodied athletes, like, they may hit a neural fatigue point, but it's looks a lot more normal, in a lack of a better term, to express it. But for me, it's like extremely obvious. Like my hands slow down. Like it literally looks like I'm moving in slow motion sometimes. And I am essentially, but in my head, I'm like trying to go as fast as possible. So it's just it's that misfiring, it's that misconnection between my brain and my body. My brain is saying go go go, and my body's saying nope, that's it, we're at our threshold. And um, you really could just see like my arms slow down, my legs slow down, my curve in my spine gets a lot more exaggerated. So my butt sticks out a little bit, my chest will move forward, and it's not a pretty sight. It's not.
the so the concept of body control and understanding your own kind of movements
Mhm.
and how you're trying to maximize and optimize um, every muscle, every brain cell, everything.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that and how you go about kind of the mindset of it and then bringing it to life. And then how do you get 2% better, 5% better, 10% better?
Um, I'm very much in a learning like transition phase right now because for us in Taekwondo, we would compete internationally all the time. So every event we went to was international and big, and you had to be on your game and mentally on your game and like mentally locked in. Whereas track, I haven't competed internationally since the Pan Am Games last November. So this season we did a lot of like mini meets, I would say, for like lack of a better term to express it, but um I am kind of learning how to be a track athlete versus be a fighter. I don't, I think I have like a very stubborn mindset when it comes to, I'm very much conditioned to be a fighter. And so when we turn over to track, like I'm kind of like, well, that's not how I've done it. Like, that's not how I've thought through it, and like that worked for me then, but it doesn't really work for me now. So I'm still very much learning on like how to mentally be a athlete as well as physically. But I think when it comes time for like trials, the biggest thing I tell myself is to lock in. Like that's one of my cues is to just lock in. Like nobody's. Yes, we all line up, but nobody's next to me. This is my race. I'm gonna push out as hard as I can, and I think every time I have an opportunity to lock in per se, that's when I get 2% better, 5% better. Like any of those like big meets, I feel like I just level up every single time.
All
So
right, this is you're like serving up my questions to me. So perfect transition to. I asked this question last night. I like to ask it to everybody. So
sure.
all the training, all the hard work, all the just athlete DNA that's naturally in your body. How do you pull all this together for the exact moment that you need it? Because in track and similar, I think, to taekwondo,
Mm,
there's not four quarters, there's not a whole team around you, it's
yeah.
you in that one moment and you have to perform. How do you do that?
Taekwondo's a little bit different because you walk out with your coach. Your coach is behind you and literally coaching you through the fight. So there is somebody like legitimately behind you, and like that feels like your team is literally right there behind you. And so, as well as we have 5 minutes in Taekwondo. So if you're not doing well in the first minute or two, you can make that comeback. But in track, you have like 13 seconds. Like there is no comeback in the 100 meter. Like every step has to be a perfect execution. And how I muster that up is I actually like I tap into my fighting mentality of just like this, like it's now or never, and like you have to do this, and like you have to just lock in, and like I can physically like feel a change when I mentally lock in like that. Like my body just is prepared. Like it's hard to explain, but like once I'm in that competition mode of like this is it, I feel like that's when my brain and body like connect the
So
best.
what is
So
it? Let's go down this road for a second though.
yeah,
So what is it? So when you say, people have heard, right? When I get locked in, when I go, this is
yeah.
competition mode. Try to take us through, like, what is that mind? What are you doing differently in that thought moment pattern than other times? Than like on a Monday at practice.
Yeah. I mean, from the moment like at trials, for example, from the moment I get out of the car or like reach the competition arena, like my walk is different. My chin is up, my chest is out. I'm taking big steps. I'm very confident. I own that track. I own this space. Like this is my space. Nobody is gonna take it from me. And I feel if I carry that all day, it's only gonna carry over into my performance later on in the track, as well as I put on like the best hype music I could find, and I really do like feel like music is transitional. Like you put on that right beat, and like it really helps you to just kind of block out the world and like get your adrenaline pumping, and not in a nervous way, but in a excitement way and in a performance enhancing way. Um, and I try to control my breathing and just stay as confident as possible until I step on the track. Or step off the track, I should say.
And then breaking down, let's say the 100 meter, right?
Hmm.
Breaking down that 100, when you get into the blocks, is there one thought that you bring in that you're like, this is what I'm thinking of, or is it kind of like you're kind of purging your head of any thoughts?
Um, I think what we're working on right now, I'm a chronic overthinker, like just in life. So like I was in Taekwondo too, like fighting. I think it was one of my weaknesses as a fighter, and um, that's one of the things we're working on in track is like Coach Mac and my teammates could literally tell when I'm thinking too much. So I try to just go in with a very clear head and like five, maybe less cues that I can like cue myself at transitional phases of the race. And my initial cue always is lock in. Like that is what gets me ready. And then when we're in the blocks, my main goal is to just have my shoulders over my hands and use as much force as possible to push my feet off those blocks and get the best, like most explosive start. So a big push is like I would say the initial step after lock in.
I love it. The one of the things that I ask that I usually say to the end, but I actually want to use it now.
Sure.
What's the one question that nobody has asked you that you're like, people should be asking me this question? Is there one that you're like, yeah, this one?
I think just for like the current situation I'm in right now, or like the current point I'm at in life, like I don't know if people realize that I only started track in February of 2023. Like I had a sport semi-sport ending injury shortly after Tokyo. Um, so I don't know if there's a question there, but like that is something I think people should like account for or at least know about is that like I didn't have so our quad was cut short to begin with because of quote COVID, but instead of those 3 years, I really only had a year and a half. Um, and I don't think that'd even be a question that people would even like think like, oh, how long have you been, like getting ready for this
I
games?
would
But
assume you've been doing this all your life. Exactly.
yeah, right. Like I think people like think that if they, come across my Instagram page or something like that, but that's not the case. I started this sport at 24, so
Unreal.
yeah,
That's amazing. That really
yeah.
is
Thank
amazing,
you.
though. So, are you kind of one of these athletes that like you're kind of like anything that you do, you're kind of pretty good at it to begin with, right? Like right
I
out of
don't.
the gate.
I don't know. I mean, for me, Taekwondo like I was so locked into Taekwondo like in every aspect of it. So I never really gave myself the chance to do. I mean, I grew up doing like all different sports just because I feel like that's what all kids do, but it helped me so much physically, like with the CP and just like mentally and with a friend group and a strong supportive group and things like that. So, um, I don't know. I wouldn't say like I feel like once I'm passionate about something, I'm locked in. I don't really focus on other things. So, yeah. Like
That's
I try
sad.
to be the best in everything that I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
As long as I'm
yeah.
passionate about it. So,
You're competitive. Yeah,
yeah.
right. If you're
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
there's like I'm kind of like that, where it's like if I'm not interested, I'm just not
Yeah,
interested,
that's it.
and you
I'm
can't get
out.
me to do
Right. Yep. Yeah. So,
it.
yep.
So for you, like thinking of like sport in general, like but maybe both of your areas, taekwondo and track,
Mm.
like what does like sport bring to you, as a person, as an individual? you know, outside of kind of the field of play? What kind of benefits are there? That,
Uh, I think there are too many to list. I mean, for me, like, we touched on this earlier, but it's a lifestyle, you know. And especially I'm finding, well, in Taekwondo there were no, it was like an all round, except for like Christmas time, we were competing every month, somewhere internationally. It was like there was no off season, you know. And
wow.
in track, I think there's way longer of an off season, but even in that off season, you're getting ready for your next season. So yeah, you're not competing, but you're still like training. And I think that benefits for me specifically, just like, is keeping my body strong and keeping myself flexible and staying. Because through sport, I have to stay on top of my disability. Because if I don't stay on top of my disability, I'm not going to be at the top of my game when it comes time to compete. Um, and just like the, you know, the friendships that you make through working out with your team every day, and like the support system you build through your coaches and through your coaching staff and things like that, and just like I think the life lessons too, the mental toughness you develop through sport is important and a big thing, I think. So
When you think about that, the concept of mental toughness, what do you think it takes to be the greatest?
I would say perseverance for sure. I know for me, like, I've had many reasons to walk away, even before track was a thought. Like, there were so many reasons to walk away from Taekwondo, and I didn't. I persevered. I stayed until they literally told me I could not do it anymore, you know? Um, Same thing in track. I think I'll stay until, I mean, I know I'll stay until I achieve my goals, you know, and perseverance is huge. But it's also like, I'm learning this now this season is like being flexible in like your way is not always the right way. So being able to absorb like how do I say it? Absorb just like other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, and balancing them. Like you don't have to put so much weight on everything, but understand that like it's not always tunnel vision. So
Yeah, I mean that's it's kind of interesting too. Like we've done a lot of work with Ryan Krauser over the years, and at this point, he's just coaching himself, but he also is a volunteer coach at University of Arkansas, and
okay,
and I'm asking him like, so do you learn anything? Do you get literally the world's greatest shot putter of all
right,
time,
right,
right?
right.
But I'm like, do you get anything from like these young athletes? And he's like, honestly, but no, no, but
Yeah.
he did. He's like no, but because I have to kind of rephrase things kind of over and over and over,
Hmm.
there's something I begin learning about like how other people are learning, and he's like, I think there's a transfer in that,
Sure.
and he's
Sure.
like a big believer that if you can coach other athletes, you're going to be a better athlete.
Yeah, definitely. I agree for sure.
The but so are there other when you think about Paralympics and just starting today, what are the sports that you're really looking at? Maybe first give us a highlight of like, okay, who are the athletes we should be watching,
Mm.
and then what are the other sports that you're really interested in that are not track and field?
So for track and field, I would say, I believe it's the T63 female long jump. Noelle Lambert is definitely a medal contender. Super excited to watch her do her thing. Um, Derek Loxodon, I think he's a T64 or 47. Below knee amputee, long jump. Honestly, he's in like 5 events, so anything he does, I think, is just going to be super exciting to watch. Ezra Freck in the high jump. Hunter Woodall in the I'm excited to see his 400 meter and his 100 meter. I'm trying to think. I mean, every Noah Malone in my training group, Beatrice Hatz, Jaylene Roberts in the long jump. Just there, I could sit here all day, like give you a whole list of the track team. Honestly, I think there's excitement to be seen in almost every event from a USA athlete. Um, I'm personally biased to my training group. I can't wait to see them all like do their thing. So, but as far as outside track and field, I mean, again, biased to Taekwondo. I'm so excited. I think one of the reasons I'm most upset I'm not in Paris right now is I cannot be in the stands to watch my former teammate Evan Medell. Um, he has been number one in the world for years now, and he just crushes. I think the only title he doesn't have is a gold medal at the World Championships. He got silver last year, and he got bronze in Tokyo. So I feel like this is really his moment and really his time, and I'm just, I'm so proud of him, and I that's I think a huge. I think a lot of people don't understand Taekwondo. It's hard to watch if you don't understand the scoring system, but if you really do pay attention, like it's so exciting. So I'm
Give
definitely
us a
excited for
quick
that.
rundown on the what we should watch for in Taekwondo.
Yeah, so for para taekwondo, there's no headshots. It's only to the body. We wear electronic foot guards and chest gear, and so every time you kick, the main objective is to score a point, and by doing that, you connect your foot to the sensor on the chest guard. So anything like a roundhouse kick to the body is 2 points. Punches actually don't score; they're allowed, but they don't score. Anything spinning is about 4 points. Um, yeah, yeah, I want to say it's a 4 point, 2 point system, and if you fall down, that's a deduction, so somebody else will like your opponent will get a point if you are to fall down for any reason, or if you step out of bounds. Um, and though, especially like the lighter weights, I don't think we have any. We have a female in the under 52 division, but like a male lighter weight division is so exciting to watch because they just move so quickly. Like the double roundhouse kicks, triple roundhouse kicks. Like you just see the most exciting parts of Taekwondo in those fights. So I definitely encourage people to like keep an eye out and try to watch something new that you wouldn't normally.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah.
I'm really interested in because I was into it when we were talking about it during the Olympic Games, and so I watched some of it and it was super exciting, really
Yeah, super
dynamic.
exciting.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So what are the other sports though that you're interested in for Paralympics?
I'm excited to watch rugby. I recently got
I am
into
too.
that through the Olympics. Watching the female rugby team do their thing was just astonishing, and so I'm excited to watch the Paralympic team do their thing. That's exciting for sure. Swimming is always super exciting to watch as well. Trying to think of fencing, I know is a good one too. I think honestly you can't go wrong. Like
There's so many
everything's
cool.
super exciting. Yeah, there's so
Yeah, I
much,
mean,
there's so much.
we're gonna have a wheelchair fencer on. I think it's Ellen Geddes, wheelchair fencer, and but I'm excited about wheelchair basketball.
Oh yeah, that's
We
gonna be a
have
great one for sure.
Brian Bell and then Rose. So we have a man and a woman. We'll have them on
Yeah,
separate shows,
awesome.
um, and that'll be
Sitting
cool.
volleyball will be a good one too.
So
I
many good.
remember in Tokyo we actually got to, I don't know where we were going. I think we were going to the airport, but they won gold. And like we were on the same bus at the time that they won gold, and they were all celebrating and screaming, and it was just like such a fun environment to be around. So I'm hoping that they could do it again here in Paris.
Well, this is the thing too. I think, in really why we exist as a company. What I'm trying to do is tell the stories of all you guys because the more we're connected as fans to you athletes,
Hmm.
we have more reasons to root for you.
Right, the more exciting for
It's
sure.
so much
Yeah,
more exciting when you know the
a
athletes.
thousand percent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
definitely.
when we're watching, say 110 hurdles, and we know a lot of the athletes, but Devin Allen has done so much work with us. We've gotten to know him a
Right.
lot. It's almost like you can't watch. It's like you're holding your breath,
Yeah.
while the event
Yeah,
is
because you have
happening.
such a connection, 100%. I'm the same way. In even watching the able-bodied taekwondo athletes who I've trained with prior but haven't seen in a while, like I literally cannot breathe. Like I'm jumping out of my seat, and I'm like, oh, like I'm coaching them from where I'm sitting, and I'm like
Exactly.
anybody looking at me, be like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm more than okay. So, yeah, You're definitely right.
Here's a question, but you've already kind of done it, so I want to like switch. I normally ask a question that's like, if you couldn't do X sport, what would you do? You've already done it,
Okay. Yeah,
so I want to switch it up on you. If you couldn't
sure.
do any summer Paralympics and you had to go into the winter
Winter.
sports, what do you think you would do?
Um, I think snowboarding. I've always like found that to be super cool, and like I've never actually put my mom like does not allow me to do any of that because she's like, I don't want you to end up in the hospital. But I think like if I were to get into the right program with the right people and like I'd love to learn how to snowboard and like try that out. Um, but yeah.
That would be a cool one.
Yeah,
That'd be
for sure.
the
For sure.
the on the winter side, like biathlon, that's one of those quirky sports.
Yeah.
You're like doing all this cross country, your heart rate's up, and then suddenly you have
Yeah.
to like stop, and it's crazy. The
Yeah.
So tell us something about Coach Mac. I want to hear something, and you're kind of new to the group a little bit,
Sure.
right? But I want
Yeah.
I want to hear some insight on Coach Mac, and kind of the coaches are kind of this unsung, and not even unsung because they're completely unknown to the viewers and fans for the
Yeah.
most part, right? You have to be a real insider to go, oh, that person, their coach is so and so, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so give us some insight on who is this guy and how does he help you?
Yeah, I think training with him remotely in the beginning, I didn't realize like how big of a name he is in para track and field. I think he has almost 35,000 followers. Like he's so well ahead of me and so like well known, and I think like um through that he's taught me how important connections are within the sport because he learns a lot through other coaches and like through watching like the other countries and other athletes, and he's able to bring that back to us, which I think is so cool. um but yeah, I honestly I think it's I actually really love watching him work with the amputee athletes. Just his knowledge of prosthetics is, for somebody that's not somebody that works with prosthetics every day and is not somebody that like makes prosthetics, like he knows so much and it's so impressive to see. And like I think we're both on a learning curve with how CP affects me in track, and like like learning how to optimize it versus like like we're learning like where the weak parts are, how we can make those weak parts like stronger and things like that. And just like his commitment to the knowledge of disability, whether it's amputee, CP, or whatever comes across his plate, I think is very admirable. Um, and he's just like, I don't know, his knowledge is just awesome. Like you could ask him almost anything, and if he doesn't know, like he'll find out. So yeah,
Yeah, such a curious guy,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I remember telling he's like I had to learn all of this, like,
yeah,
it's like I wasn't,
yeah.
I didn't have like a background that was this, and I
Right,
had
that's
to
what I'm
learn it
saying.
all.
Like to not
Yeah.
like go through like I know there's a program for it, but to literally not like build prosthetics on a daily basis and like know what he knows, I think is awesome. So,
So to kind of give a peek into like viewers and fans of like
mm,
CP and like how it affects you as an athlete, talk
sure.
about that just a little bit.
Yeah, so what CP is it's a neurological disability that is essentially a miscommunication between the muscles and the brain. So I can tell my body to do something, but that doesn't mean it's going to come out the way I'm perceiving it to or the way that I would like it to. And that's just due to the tightness of my muscles. I'm constantly in like this state of, I don't want to say spasm because those come and go, but just constantly tight, right? So, um, and as you can imagine, like when you're running or doing kicking or doing anything sport related, like the optimal place to be is flexible and strong, right? And CP is the opposite. You're tight and semi weak depending on how you're affected. So for me, it's just and I find the older I get, actually the more pain I'm kind of in. So we're in this transitional phase of trying to manage that. And that's what I experienced after Tokyo. I've had back pain since I was 4 years old. Like it comes with the territory, it is what it is. But after Tokyo, like I had this left side back pain that just could bring me to tears. And like, I'd go to the doctor every year and I'm like, oh, my back hurts, and they're like, well, we know that you have CP, like we'll do an x-ray, but you're fine, and this was just a whole nother level. There you go. I think you
I'm
popped
back.
out there.
I
You're
popped
back.
out.
Okay.
We're on
Okay, you're
opposite
back.
sides, at least on my end.
Yeah, no, yep, you're below me now. Okay. All good. All good. Yeah, so shortly after Tokyo, I went to the doctor and I was just like, it's hard to even walk at this point. Like I don't know what's going on. Like
Wow.
what's happening. And I went through like 10, 12 different doctors to try to figure out what specifically is going on. And it turns out that just that portion of my body just got extremely, extremely tight and like would not let up no matter what. So I needed a form of treatment that I've never needed before, but is common with CP. So I get Botox routinely now, as well as like I take a muscle relaxer. Um, and that's something that like growing up I never had to do. I mean, it was always in talks, but it was, never anything I had to do. So um, I think like it's managing the disability along with managing the sport. Like, how can I make my disability optimal for the sport? And like, what do I need to do? I feel like sometimes, and this is not to discredit like the work that Olympians do because they work astronomically hard. There's no way of discounting that, but I think sometimes para athletes need to work just a tad bit harder because like not only do I have to do the work on the track and the work in the kitchen and the work in like let's say sports psych, like mentally, like all those things, but you also have to like stay on top of your disability, whether that's stretching, physical therapy, like doctor's appointments, things like that. So I don't know
Well,
if I answered your question,
no,
but
you
I
did,
kind of went
and
off on a ramble. But
no, that's exactly perfect. I think part of what you're saying is too, like there's the physical toll on your body from the athletics
right,
part, which then, again, able-bodied athletes then get PT work for that, right?
right, right.
And somehow you have to do both,
Yeah.
right? You have to,
Mm-hmm.
like, you need that. Probably is it PT work similar to what other track, what other sprinters would be getting, but it accounted for, is CP kind of accounted for within that treatment somehow, or
Yeah,
is
I
it
would say like
separate?
prior to track or like regardless of track, physical therapy is just a part of my routine. Um, so there's CP physical therapy, and then there's track physical therapy, and then there's both. And it really just depends on where we are in the season, how I'm feeling physically. Um, if I tweaked my back during training, okay, we're gonna focus on that. So it really is just being self-aware of how my body's feeling and like what if we have like a meet coming up, then we're not gonna go as hard in PT as we would, let's say if we had a meet in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or things like that, So it's really just being aware and being able to communicate what I need as an athlete and kind of where we are in the season.
So does your body have, like, do you know what your body's going to give you on any given day, or is it a little bit more unpredictable than that?
Um, I think like that and then I went through after Tokyo, completely out of left field. Did not expect that, I think. And it was also semi like, I don't want to say life changing, but the fact that like that pain still affects me today and we're 3 years later,
Wow.
like, and I've been able to calm it and we've been able to manage it, but it's still there, you know, that, whereas like I'd have general back pain, but never to that extent. So, that was definitely out of left field, but I would say I generally know, like, based on hydration and how I've eaten and things like that, like, I know how I'm gonna feel the next day.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
ultimately, like when you talk about, again, you're your kind of fighter DNA a little
Mhm.
bit, right? And
Yeah.
it seems like part of that. Do you think part of that has come from the disability a little bit, like the
1,000%. Yeah,
yeah,
1,000%. I think Coach Mac touched on this too, but like, and I share this with Beatrice Hatz. I personally did not want to accept my disability as a child. I was super against like any type of sport like this actually because it felt like I was accepting it. And I didn't want to accept it. I don't, I don't have disability. I'm normal. Like, you know what I mean? And like
right,
that's not the case and I think nobody's quote unquote normal. That's a very relative term, right? And so but being able to accept it has given me a level of confidence because now I get to do all these things and like make my passion my lifestyle, right? And so, sorry, there's a helicopter flying over, but yeah, it's just originally going from like, I also use para sport as a way to like kind of be like, oh yeah, I have CP, but I did this. So it's like fighting it, it's overcoming it, and it's also just like, I also like I always felt like I had this underlying belief that like if I did enough it would go away and it will never go away. Like that's I don't know why I think that. Um but like through Taekwondo, like I was always like, oh, if I could like be a world champion then like CP doesn't matter cuz I'm a world champion. You know what I mean? Like regardless. Like and
you know.
especially go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, finish that thought.
I was just gonna say, like, especially in Taekwondo, I was fighting upper amputees. I was never fighting somebody with CP. So I felt if I could beat them at a world, like, put that gold medal around my neck, like, okay, cool, like, CP doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I did that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, and I think Shari Hawkins either trained or still trains out there, right? And we did a live stream with her, and but she talked about something similar in that, just as an athlete, that she always thought like, oh, if I do this, if I
Right.
become an Olympic athlete, then I don't have to worry about all that other stuff. Now I'm
Yeah.
I'm at this
Hmm.
level, and she's like, she's I think 33 years old, and she's like, it took me. Everyone's always like, oh, you're still working on, whatever, the javelin or whatever it might be. And she's like,
Sure.
it's a
Sure.
lot of events to master. It's taken me this many years. And
Yeah.
even with this level of mastery, she's like, I still have so much more to learn,
Yep.
But she
Yeah.
did say this idea of getting that thing still doesn't, she's like, I'm still just as confused, or I'm still just as,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes like winning, okay, perfect example, ready? So like we went to Pan Am's in 2019 in Peru for Taekwondo, right? And I lost my first fight. And then I went into another fight for what's called repechage, so you get to fight for bronze. And I lost that fight too. And uh, but as far as the qualification system goes, like I was qualifying through the world rankings, so top four, and I was like 10 points away from being removed from top four and then having to go to a continental qualifier. So emotionally, I was wrecked because I was like, oh my goodness, like my Paralympic dream is over because I just lost at the Pan Am Games, right? And it was just such a devastating time for me. Then fast forward to 2023 in Chile, I'm there for a totally different sport. It's my international debut. I get two gold medals. And for the moment, it's so exciting. But then it's like, wait, I'm
wow.
a gold medalist, but I don't. You think, like, if I get this, if I do that, then, like, you'll feel differently. And I did in the moment, but now I'm like, okay, like, it's a medal to go in my medal box. And, like, essentially, like, you don't always, like, feel the way you thought you'd feel once you achieve. And not to discredit it, it was an amazing achievement. I'm so proud of it. But like in the quest towards gold through my Taekwondo career and now through my track career, like it's like, oh, it's not as I don't feel the way I thought I'd feel. You
Right.
know. Yeah. And not in a bad way. Just
Right.
just, it's just how the cards played and like I felt amazing and I still feel amazing about it, but just not how you envision it to feel, I think. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Who was I talking to? And I forget who it was, but maybe it was like with Clayton Murphy and Devin, and I was talking about this idea of like, how do you guys chase these kind of hundredths of seconds? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, because Devin, yeah, it was with Devin and Clayton. And Clayton's like, look, in an 800, we have some time to make up some stuff,
Right.
right?
Right.
But he's like, when it's a finish that's, a half meter behind, that's the equivalent of Devin in the 110 hurdles because it's a much
Right.
shorter race. So those
Right.
hundreds are kind of the same, right? But they're like, you have it wrong though, Bob. We're not chasing the time. We're looking to
Chasing
beat.
them.
We're
Yeah.
looking to beat our other competitor. So
Yep.
the time doesn't matter. What matters is winning,
Right.
right? And obviously,
Right.
there's a component of like you need to run certain times to know that
Yeah.
you're in that
Right.
zone. Um, and then I thought it was interesting that one day we were shooting with Devin Allen at here in New York, and it was the day that he ran that third fastest time all time. And he turns to us as he's sipping his coffee. We're getting there because we rode with him and we're shooting the whole thing. And he
Mm.
turns to us and he says, he looks at the camera and goes, "Man, I'm feeling good. This could be a world record day."
Yeah.
And he said it
Oh
right.
wow.
So it's
Just so
some
nonchalantly. Yeah.
exactly, but sometimes
Yeah.
I guess right as an athlete, you're feeling something,
Yeah.
right?
You like Pan Am's like the morning of my like I knew. Like I felt it. Like my 200, and normally my 200 is my dreaded event. Like I'm like, not that I don't want to do it, but it's just more physically taxing. So I enjoy the 100 more because I feel more powerful in that moment, and I also don't feel like I'm gonna fall over the minute that we cross that finish line. You know what I mean? So but getting into like I remember just like my thought process and like getting into the box in the two, and like the moment I got out and was able to keep that lead, I'm like, this is it, this is mine. You feel it, and it just like it's an amazing feeling. It really is. So
That is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Somehow we were down to 2 minutes left in the show, and
crazy.
Tal didn't make it. I don't. We probably have some mix up, but we're gonna have him back on another day. Um, that's gonna be exciting, by the way, because
Yeah,
when I was younger, like we'd have like the family holidays and all that stuff, right? And we'd
right.
have like kind of bloodbath ping pong matches in the basement.
Oh
we
my
had like
goodness.
we had like the tournament, board up there. We had
Yeah,
money on the line. It was like,
going for gold there. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
so
That's funny.
we'll get into that with Tal the next time. I need
Yeah,
I need a couple of pointers to take my game to the next level. Um,
gotcha.
but the I'll do a little housekeeping here on kind of shout outs and but think about who you want to give shout outs to, brands, people, anybody. But so basically, if you want to follow World's Greatest, you've kind of been seeing our little ticker on the bottom with all our social platforms. The big shout out to Vizio. So right now we have a bunch of different series on Vizio. So if you own a Vizio TV, the easiest way is probably to search for The Science of Movement, that show. Um, and then you'll find a bunch of our content on Vizio. You can also find it on Curiosity Stream, which is a cool streaming platform with a bunch of like sciencey documentaries. Um, and they've helped us get into Apple TV and Prime Video. So if you search The Science of Movement, you'll find both of those shows if you're on Apple TV or Prime. Um, but yeah, big shout out to HSS. They are
Yeah,
awesome.
definitely.
So
Yes.
they
Love
were
them.
they sponsored our Science of Movement show. They
Awesome.
were amazing partners. We had 10 different doctors, one in each episode. Very cool series. We're looking forward to hopefully continuing that as well. Now, Brianna, I just lost you and you pop back on the other
Yeah,
side.
there we go. I don't know what's going on. Switching spots.
So why don't I'm gonna toss it over to you before we say our goodbyes, and what
Yeah.
shout outs do you have?
Oh, I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody that's in Paris right now. My training group, so proud of you guys. I can't wait to watch you kill it. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited to see the results. And want to give a huge shout out to Evan Medell too in Taekwondo. I'm super proud of him. I'm super sad I can't be there to watch, but I think he's going to do amazing. Big shout out to Coach Mac for being my coach and taking me on this year, and I'm super appreciative of him. And big shout out to my family for supporting me, all my physical therapists, everybody at One More Rep too. They trained me up until I moved here. Um, yeah, I mean, I could sit here for a while, but I'm just really thankful for everybody that supports me. So
That's awesome. Hey,
yeah,
maybe we can get Evan on one of the later
I
episodes,
think
and,
that would be
and
awesome.
that would be
Yeah,
cool to have you on with Evan,
definitely. And
right?
even like our former coach, Jason Poos, he was both the Olympic and Paralympic Taekwondo coach too. So he might be somebody you might be interested in talking to as well. He has both sides of things. So
Awesome.
he's fantastic. Yeah.
That's super cool. This has been I can't believe how quick this hour went.
Yeah.
We kind of covered a lot of ground.
We did. We did. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for having me on.
I wasn't sure we're gonna be able to like cover both. It's funny how things work out because I had a lot to talk to you about, and then with
Yeah.
Paul, I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to balance all that. But it was almost like I had two athletes in one, which I do
Gotcha.
with you.
Yeah, kind of.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it kind of worked out. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm glad.
So thank you, Brianna. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can't wait to watch some Paralympics this evening.
Yeah, me too.
I'm tuning into Peacock to watch some of that.
For
And
sure.
so tomorrow, let me see. Tomorrow on the show, who do we have tomorrow? Let me just double check so we can shout out. Oh yeah, tomorrow we have Brian Bell, wheelchair basketball player, who will be awesome. And then Nick Itkin, who I believe he won bronze this year in Olympic fencing.
Oh,
Right.
awesome. Wow.
So we're gonna try to mix up Olympians, Paralympians, and kind of bring them together.
Awesome.
I like different sports too coming together because it's athletes kind of looking at the sports in a different way. So Nick will be really fun and interesting. So that'd be a cool show. But every day we got two athletes coming in every day. It's gonna be awesome. Thanks again, Brianna.
Excited. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
You too.